The 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix began under a tense, gray sky. The air at the Hungaroring was thick with humidity and anticipation. It felt like a day where anything could happen. The track was damp from an earlier shower. A fine mist hung in the air, making the asphalt slick and unpredictable. This was the final race before the summer break. Drivers and teams were eager for a strong result. Lewis Hamilton in his Mercedes sat on pole position. His teammate, Valtteri Bottas, was right beside him. Max Verstappen was just behind. Sergio Perez was just behind. Everything was set for a classic battle. The strategy calls started before the lights even went out. Most of the grid, including the front runners, opted for the green-striped intermediate tires. These tires are designed for damp but not soaking wet conditions. The choice seemed logical. The track was not dry enough for slicks, but the rain had stopped for now. In the pit lane, team principals stood with crossed arms. They stared at weather radar screens. Their faces were tight with concentration. They knew that a single miscalculation on a day like this could end their race before it truly began. The formation lap began, and the cars snaked around the circuit. They kicked up plumes of water spray. The visibility was poor. Drivers on the radio reported the grip levels. They were trying to find the driest lines. For the millions watching at home, it looked like a standard wet weather start, a familiar dance of skill and caution. But beneath the surface, a perfect storm of circumstances was brewing. Tight first corner, slippery track, drivers desperate for position. The stage was set for a race that would not be remembered for who was fastest, but for who could survive. As the cars formed on the grid, the engines revved to a high-pitched scream. The 5 red lights illuminated one by one. A world held its breath. Hamilton got a clean start, but behind him, the story of the race was about to be written in a few chaotic seconds. Bottas, in the second Mercedes, had a poor getaway. His wheels spun on the damp tarmac. He was immediately swamped by the cars behind him. Lando Norris of McLaren surged forward. Max Verstappen surged forward. Sergio Perez surged forward. Bottas saw them coming. He braked late. It was a fatal miscalculation. It was the moment that lit the fuse on one of the most explosive starts in modern F1 history. The first corner at the Hungaroring is a tight, downhill right-hander. It is a place that demands respect even in the dry. On this day, it became a scene of utter carnage. As Bottas braked too late, his Mercedes shot forward like a bowling ball. He locked his tires and slid helplessly into the back of Lando Norris's McLaren. The impact was violent. Norris was speared into the side of Max Verstappen's Red Bull. The chain reaction had begun. Bottas's car continued its uncontrolled slide. It slammed into the other Red Bull, Sergio Perez. In less than 5 seconds, 4 of the top 6 cars were involved in a massive pileup. Further back, the chaos kept spreading. Lance Stroll misjudged the braking point. He went down the inside onto the grass to avoid it. The wet grass offered no grip. He became a passenger. His Aston Martin slid across the turf and T-boned Charles Leclerc's Ferrari. Leclerc was shoved into Daniel Ricciardo's McLaren. Debris flew everywhere. Carbon fiber shattered into a million pieces. Cars spun with broken suspensions and punctured tires. It was a wrecking yard. A few drivers miraculously threaded through. Lewis Hamilton was already clear. He looked back at the devastation. Esteban Ocon picked a perfect path through the wreckage. Sebastian Vettel made it through unscathed. Carlos Sainz also escaped the carnage. For them, disaster became opportunity. They were suddenly at the front. The order had been turned on its head. The track lay littered with broken cars and sharp debris. The safety car was deployed immediately. The damage was too widespread. The red flag followed. The race was stopped. Cars limped back to the pit lane. Drivers sat in their cockpits, stunned. Team principals ran down the pit wall in fury and disbelief. Fans in the grandstands looked on in shock. One corner in, and a season's worth of drama had already unfolded. The red flag period brought a strange lull to the Hungaroring. The remaining cars lined up in the pit lane. Mechanics swarmed over them, making frantic repairs. Red Bull's crew worked desperately on Max Verstappen's heavily damaged car. They patched it up as best they could, but it was clear the car was wounded. The rules during a red flag are specific. Teams can repair damage. Teams can change tires. This rule was about to create another moment of high drama. As the crews worked, the weather began to change again. The sun broke through the clouds. The track started to dry with surprising speed. The race director announced the restart procedure. It would be a standing start from the grid. This was a critical decision. Teams now had to make a huge gamble. Would they start on the intermediate tires they had been on, or switch to dry weather slick tires? The track was still damp in places, but drying quickly. A wrong choice would be disastrous. As the cars left the pit lane for the formation lap, all but one were on intermediate tires. The teams had played it safe. All except one. Lewis Hamilton, the race leader, was alone on the intermediate tires. Everyone else had dived into the pits at the end of the formation lap for slicks. It was one of the most bizarre and iconic images in Formula One history. As the 5 red lights prepared to go out for the second time, only one car sat on the grid. Lewis Hamilton's black Mercedes was all alone. The other 19 grid slots were empty. The rest of the field was in the pit lane, getting their slick tires fitted. They would start their race from there. Hamilton and his Mercedes team had made a monumental strategic blunder. They had misread the conditions. They realized their mistake too late. The sight of a solitary car starting a Grand Prix is something no one had ever seen before. Hamilton started the race, as he had to. He completed one lonely lap. Then, he pitted for slick tires on the next lap. This dropped him from first place all the way to last. The leader was now at the back of the pack. Up at the front, Esteban Ocon of Alpine now led the race. Sebastian Vettel was in second. The entire race had been flipped upside down, not by a crash, but by rules and a rapidly drying track. It was a perfect example of how F1 is a chess match as much as it is a race. The chaos of the first corner had been replaced by the quiet, brutal reality of a strategic error. Right. With the pre-race favorites either out, damaged, or at the back, the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix became a race for the underdog. Esteban Ocon, in his Alpine, led the field. This was a driver who had never won a Grand Prix. He was not supposed to be here. Behind him, the 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel pressured him relentlessly. For lap after lap, the Aston Martin was glued to the Alpine's gearbox. Vettel was faster in some sections, but Ocon defended with the skill and composure of a seasoned winner. He did not make a single mistake. He placed his car perfectly in every corner, giving Vettel no room to pass. While Ocon and Vettel were locked in their private duel, a recovery drive of epic proportions was happening behind them. Lewis Hamilton, now on the right tires, was carving his way through the field. His Mercedes was much faster than the cars ahead. He began to pick them off one by one. He passed Ricciardo. He passed Verstappen's damaged Red Bull. Soon he was in a podium position and closing fast on the leaders. The question was simple. Would he run out of laps? The tension in the final stages of the race was almost unbearable. Ocon continued to hold off Vettel. His team on the radio gave him constant encouragement. His teammate, Fernando Alonso, played a crucial role. Alonso, a 2-time world champion, found himself defending 4th place from the charging Hamilton. For 10 incredible laps, Alonso used all his experience and cunning to keep the much faster Mercedes behind him. He defended as if his life depended on it. This brilliant defensive driving held Hamilton up. It cost Hamilton precious seconds. It ultimately saved the race for his teammate, Ocon. On the final lap, Ocon was still in the lead. He crossed the finish line just 1.8 seconds ahead of Sebastian Vettel. The emotion was overwhelming. He screamed with joy on the radio. His Alpine team erupted in celebration in the pit lane. It was a fairy tale victory, the first for Ocon and the first for the Alpine brand. Carlos Sainz finished third after Hamilton, exhausted from his charge, could not pass him. It was a podium that nobody could have predicted just 2 hours earlier. The race, born in chaos and defined by strategy, had produced a truly unforgettable and popular winner. The aftermath of the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix was felt long after the champagne was sprayed. While the sport celebrated Esteban Ocon's win, the stewards had work to do. Valtteri Bottas was handed a grid penalty. Lance Stroll was handed a grid penalty. The penalties were a clear message from the FIA. They wanted to clamp down on reckless starts. They wanted drivers to take more responsibility, especially in tricky weather conditions. Safety remained paramount. The race led to a significant rule clarification. Lewis Hamilton starting alone on the grid prompted a review. It exposed a loophole no one had considered. The rules were amended to give the race director more flexibility. Option: delay a restart. Option: mandate a rolling start. This prevents that strange, unsafe situation happening again. A practical change from a once-in-a-lifetime event. Beyond rules, it changed F1 culture. It reminded everyone anything can happen. Chaos creates opportunities for others. Alonso's defense against Hamilton was hailed as a masterclass. It was celebrated alongside Ocon's victory. It reinforced teamwork and experience. Fans saw that great drives aren't always about winning. Sometimes it's about fighting for every inch to help a teammate. The 5-minute chaos did more than decide a race. It reset the championship and delivered an underdog story. It was a race that had everything: crashes, controversy, strategic gambles, a lonely grid, a heroic defense, a first-time winner. It stands as a testament to Formula One's unpredictable heart. The takeaway is clear. In Formula One, expect the unexpected, because that is often when the sport is at its most magical.